It's 15 degrees in Jacksonville. It's 3 in Blackburn. Brass monkeys in Brighton. I actually had never heard of that phrase before, Kee, until today, but there we go. We have...
You're such a southerner.
I feel like I am. Quite a few listeners in Florida as well. I wonder if they're currently Googling that, brass monkeys. This is Teal Talk, the official Jacksonville Jaguars UK and Ireland podcast presented by Gallagher. I'm Jay Lawrence, no relation. He's Kee Ramsorrun, and this is our last Teal Talk of the season, but we will be back once a month. Yeah, I was about to say, you got to give a yay then. Back once a month to talk all things Jags in the off-season. We're talking the draft, of course, re-signings, injury rehabs, I've got no doubt. And in the next podcast at the end of January, we're probably actually going to be reacting to something quite big.
What's happened, Jay?
The new Jaguars head coach. I know. Doug Peterson, he didn't even have time for breakfast on Monday morning, did he? Before he was fired as head coach of the Jacksonville Jaguars. We will talk about that. We'll talk about possible replacements, all things NFL and Jags. In this episode of Teal Talk, we will make our early Super Bowl picks, and we'll do it all in the company of the Athletics NFL reporter in the UK, a man who has been on the NFL UK scene for a while, Peter Carline. We'll introduce Peter in a second, but first, Kee, we need to talk about it ever so briefly, only because it feels like it's it just sums up the Jags season as a whole. Right. Another narrow defeat for the Jags. I don't feel like we need to go into the game that much, but it just feels like, come on, we have said this so much.
Yeah. As I was writing the TV show this week, Jay, I thought, another one-score game. I wonder what would have happened if the Jags had scored an extra touchdown in each game, and the podcast would have been very different, is the answer to that question.
What would have been?
13-3-1.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
And even just a few different, even a few victories out of those would change it massively, wouldn't it? It's funny, isn't it? Just one. But you know what? As we've said before, it's happened.
The point is they didn't.
Exactly. The point is it didn't.
Yeah.
Let's just put a bow on it. We don't need to talk about it too much, do we?
No.
We need to be aware that it has happened and we need to move on. And this is where I can introduce the Athletics, Peter Carline. Peter, thank you so much for joining us today on the podcast.
Pleasure to be here.
Let's ask the first question. I mean, we'll talk Jags head coach search in a second, but let's just ask, if you had to sum up, let's just say in a sentence, the Jacksonville Jaguars 2024 season.
Oh, this is great.
How would you describe it?
I'm going to have to say disappointing.
Okay.
Third year of Doug Peterson. They've just rewarded Trevor Lawrence with a massive deal, and they fly into back-to-back games in London, thinking we can win both of these like we did last year, and we can rocket into sort of contention, but it was just a non-starter really. Brian Thomas Jr. is obviously the highlight of the season, but Trevor Lawrence has got injured. Peterson 9-8, and then 4-13, which kind of sticks out. To me, watching, the low light was they made the Bears look exceptional at Tottenham, and
yeah.
I mean, they
do you know what? I forgot about that. There's a reason why you forget things, isn't there?
I saw them at Wembley, and the first quarter, you think, crikey, he's going to get sacked here. You know, they were 10-0 down in the first quarter, and to their credit, they fought back. They won the game. But it was sort of the, dead man walking, really, wasn't it? You've beaten Drake May and the Patriots, but then you just carried on, 3 more wins, and
they swept the Titans, Peter. That's huge.
They absolutely
did.
Who does that? The team that's picking number 1 in the draft.
Yeah.
Oh, right. That's a real feather in the cap.
So, well, look, let's get onto it then, shall we? Doug Peterson fired on Monday after the game. Trent Baalke will remain as general manager. Are we saying, Peter, that this was a foregone conclusion, or you think was there ever a way that you could see him staying?
Peterson, I don't think so. Someone's got to carry the can for the for the season. They've taken Trevor Lawrence #1 overall pick, and they've obviously, there's obviously been a decision gone into, we want some kind of quarterback whisperer, and I hate to mention his name, and not a quarterback whisperer, but a college coach who understands a generational talent, someone who's going to bring the best out of Trevor Lawrence, and they give him Urban Meyer.
That never happened.
Sorry.
Urban who?
Peterson comes in, and the first year, Lawrence looked good. Lawrence looked great, and you've got the Chargers game and all the rest of it, and then 8-3 suddenly. From 8-3, it's another 1-5, and when a team does that, when a team is the destiny's in their hands, this is brilliant back-to-back playoff seasons for the Jags, but they couldn't do it, and then that form just carried on, didn't it, into this season? And to me, I was surprised that he lasted that long, because you can get you look at what's going on in the Jets, you think there's Vrabel out there. Come on, let's you've tried the college coach, you've tried the offensive Super Bowl winner. Now surely the NFL you do the opposite. You want the gruff defensive minded coach. Vrabel's the best guy out there. Do what you can to get him.
Well, Shad Khan said that the offense and the defense are incredibly predictable. So he's going to be looking for unpredictability in the next head coach. I'm not quite sure whatever way that, I take that, but it does make me think, I wonder if, I've got no reason to think this, but I wonder if he'll be looking at another offensive coach, but maybe...
I think that's too predictable, Jay. I think he's going to go for one of his AEW wrestlers as the next coach of the Jags.
I think he'll get unpredictability there.
Yeah.
I think he definitely will. The Jags have actually, we're recording this on Tuesday, as of this afternoon, they've requested interviews with Lions defensive coordinator Aaron Glenn, Lions offensive coordinator Ben Johnson, and Bucks offensive coordinator Liam Cohen. I don't think I've missed anybody. There's a chance I might have missed somebody, but I think it's just those three as it stands. It's not that surprising. I think a lot of teams are going to be interested in those guys, to be honest with you, particularly the two from the Lions.
Yeah.
Ben Johnson was the hottest candidate last off season, and he didn't decide to join any team. It looks like maybe, especially if the Lions were to win a Super Bowl this year, maybe he would, uproot and join a different team as head coach now. Would that be your number one choice, Peter? For any team? Well, I suppose the Jags, but is it for any team?
For the Jags, yeah, I think Ben Johnson, what he's done with Jared Goff, but Detroit have built from the trenches, and I'm not convinced that Jacksonville have done that. Look at the brick wall in front of Jared Goff. If the Jags had that kind of roster, then absolutely. But the Jags do have a lot going for them. You've got Trevor Lawrence, you've got Brian Thomas, you've got a new ground coming, you've got an easy division, you've got a lovely facility. Go out, sell these things. But to me, the hurdle to that is the fact that the general manager, the man, is still in situ. So Ben Johnson can pretty much go where he wants, can't he? And is he going to be malleable enough to have a general manager that he may not get on with? He can pick where he wants, and he might just think, no, I'll just stay in Detroit again for another year. I mean, I think Vrabel's probably kind of to me the guy that would be the ideal choice, but he has an emotional tie to New England.
Right, and he's interviewing for a bunch of different teams as well over the next few days as well. Former Jags quarterback Mark Brunell says that Ben Johnson is interested in the job and likes the idea of Trevor in the offense. There we go. No idea if that's true or not, but
set in stone. That's official. That's a binding contract.
But the thing is what I do think. I know you bring up a point there, Peter, but there is a consensus that the Jags job will be an appealing one. No matter, there are worse jobs to have than the Jacksonville Jaguars head coaching job at the moment. And, I think there is also that, I do wonder if there is that sort of appeal that Trevor Lawrence doesn't seem to have hit his potential yet. And I wonder if you're an offensive mind, you're thinking, well, we know he's got the talent. I think I can bring that out of him. But I don't know.
I guess you would look at, have we seen the Trevor Lawrence that was at Clemson perform in the NFL? A few games, a few moments, yeah. Overall, I don't think we have. I don't think we've seen that same Trevor Lawrence that was at Clemson perform in the NFL. A coach that is excited to bring that out of him, I think, yeah, there's huge possibilities there.
And Liam Cohen with the Bucks as well. He's had a good season. It's been his one season with the Bucks as offensive coordinator. So I wonder if that'll work against him somehow. I don't know. But, I have no doubt the Jags will be interviewing loads more players. Would you, Kee, like to see an offensive mind or a defensive mind be the head coach of the Jacksonville Jaguars in 2025?
So I'm very fortunate that I've sat down with Coach Nielsen, who's had a season at the Jags. When I heard him talk, I thought, I'm so excited by what he has to offer. I would like to see him maintain that position and an offensive-minded person come in as head coach that can mold and gel with what Coach Nielsen wants to do. So not someone that's going to come in. I feel like Coach Nielsen has all this vision and has all these things that he wants to try and do. Whether that clashed with what Doug Peterson's trying to do, I don't know, or what. But I would like to see Coach Nielsen have another opportunity to do that, but for someone to come in with an offensive mind to then bring Trevor Lawrence and the guys up to a standard that we know that they can perform at. Because we've seen it sometimes. This season, the offense has performed really well, and sometimes last season, the offense performed really well. Overall, I think they can take a step forward with an offensively minded head coach. So I think someone offensively minded.
And
what do you think, Jay?
I think that Ben Johnson is going to be the hot candidate as it stands.
Yeah, I like that.
And I want a somebody as a head coach that is able to utilize the talent that is on the offense. And that's not to say that you can't have a talented offensive coordinator, obviously, but you want the best of the best, and you're assuming that your head coach is going to be one of the best offensive minds. You hope that they're going to be one of the best offensive minds in the NFL. So that's what I would like to see. But Peter, you did point out a second ago, didn't you? This is the NFL. You do tend to see opposites, don't you? Something happens, and then it just goes to the opposite.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's also that there is, of course, an element of risk. I mean, Ben Johnson's been brilliant, but he's got Dan Campbell above him taking the gambles, and we've seen plenty of offensive coordinators who don't quite who aren't suited out to be head coaches. Of course, Minnesota have lucked out with Kevin O'Connell, but I mean, this is all kind of by the by. But you want someone who's going to bring out the best in Trevor Lawrence, and it's not, they're not going into a madhouse like the Jets. They're not going into cap hell like the Saints. So it's not an unattractive coaching opportunity. But I just hope that I think they clearly need someone who is perhaps going to be a little bit tougher than Peterson. What Andre Cisco said after the Bears game. There's sort of been a bit of a not really a calling out coach. And I'm not saying that's necessarily what you need, but I think certainly when you are a head coach, there certainly does need to be some accountability. And I think Jacksonville might benefit from someone who, like a Vrabel type character, who's kind of going to shake stuff up.
Mm.
Well, it's going to be a very interesting few weeks, isn't it? And by the time that we do our next podcast, at least we know what we're going to be leading with. The likelihood is we know what we're going to be leading with. I mean, the one thing that is obviously going to be happening over the next few months, and we will touch upon it, of course, in future episodes, is we now know where the Jacksonville Jaguars are going to be drafting as well. Going to be drafting with the 5th pick, 3 picks in the first 2 rounds. It's going to be a big offseason for the Jacksonville Jaguars, but there is reason, I think, to feel optimistic about you, despite the poor season. There's no doubt about that. You do have reason to feel like there could be change, there could be positivity over the next few months, Kee.
Absolutely. I mean, we've talked about him every single week before the season even started. I remember coming back from Jacksonville from training camp, and going Brian Thomas Jr. And then this season he's been outstanding, like fantastic. One thing I do want to point out that we haven't talked about that much. I mean, I've talked about Cam Little an inordinate amount, really. But actually, special teams as a whole, I think, have been fantastic this season. I think that's a huge positive going forwards into next season. So Brian Thomas Jr. and special teams for me, fantastic this season.
Oh, I think you got to talk about special teams for a second. We actually have some special teams news.
Did you see the video of Cam Little telling the guys?
No, I haven't.
Pro Bowl? Oh, it's fantastic. Look it up if you can. It's on the Jaguars UK socials. It's really good. So they're having their special teams meeting, and Coach Heath Farwell calls Cam Little up to just like give a talk at the end of the final special teams meeting. And at the end, Cam says, "Yeah, so Ross and Logan, you've been really great this season. Just come up and the boys are just going to give you a round of applause. Oh, and by the way, you made it into the Pro Bowl. You're both starters. Well done." It's really nice.
I mean, that's incredible, isn't it? And of course, that's Ross Matisic. It's 2 in a row, isn't it, for Ross Matisic?
2 in a row.
Two in a row. And but for Logan Kirk, his 7th NFL season, the Jags' most tenured player. It was his first such honor. So that's incredible stuff. And, you know, as I said before, in a not overwhelmingly amazing season, you've got to grab onto the positives, and that's definitely a positive, isn't it? Side note, just while I remember as well, congratulations to Trevor Lawrence. Trevor Lawrence, who has had a baby. Well, his wife. His wife has had a baby, obviously.
What I'll say is, Trevor, please carry the baby with your right arm and let the left shoulder rest, please.
Yeah. So congratulations to Marissa and Trevor. Do you know the baby's name, Kee?
I don't actually, no.
And
is
I know.
It Shay?
Well, it's Shay. So it's Shay Lawrence. So
I've always said Shay, so that sounds...
Shaylin Lawrence.
I always say, because my Mauritian heritage, I always say J. So that baby to me will be Jay Lawrence. It's official. There we go.
Oh, look, I've found a way to make it about me. Congratulations to those two. Look, let's just go on to the draft for a second. I mean, we'll speak about it at length, obviously, over the next few months. But Peter, is there something that you think that the Jags need to be looking at? Obviously, we've got free agency in the way. Is there something that is just so obvious in your mind the Jags need to be doing this?
Offensive line.
Peter,
that was quick.
Do you use your first round pick at number 5 for offensive line?
That's a good question.
That's a good question. I think you take the best player of you either take a cornerback, you either take defensive line, or you take offensive line. They're the glaring weaknesses for me on the Jags roster. You take the best player available there.
Do you trade up for Travis Hunter? That's the is that the question? No, you don't do it. Do you take him if he falls?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. I just think staying. I mean, that'd be fun. Travis Hunter back in Florida. I just think that'd be fun. There's a lot to go through anyway this off season, but it's over the next few weeks. It's going to be a lot going on in lots of people's minds when it comes to the head coaching search. Did you see the comments from Eric Armstead as well, Kee?
I did.
Okay. Do you want to care to elaborate?
I want you to elaborate first.
Okay.
I'll respond.
Eric Armstead said I believe this was straight after the last game of the season as well. Mm-hmm. He commented on his move to defensive end, saying that he'll be moving back to defensive tackle and he'll be the elite player that he is, which was pretty I don't know, pretty can't think of the word, just honest, I think it's fair to say, Kee. No matter who comes in or who's going to be the defensive coordinator, whether it's going to be Ryan Nielsen or continuing or whatever, it's pretty clear where Eric Armstead wants to play going forward.
Maybe he's just gone, do you know what? I tried it for a season and it wasn't what I thought it would be, and I'm going to go back to, because he is exceptional in that other position. So yeah.
Okay, Peter. Thank you so much for joining us. I feel like we just need to get another closing sentence from you to ask how big this off season is in for the Jacksonville Jaguars?
Well, it's huge. This is, you need to get Trevor Lawrence back. You need to get him fit. You need to get him firing. And you've got a new stadium. You need to get back into relevance, really.
What would you like to happen
for the Jags? Can I say I think there should have been a clean sweep.
Okay, there we go. Brutal Peter. Okay, before we let you go, Peter, actually, let's just talk playoffs for a second, Key, as well. Let's just have this conversation. We're now into that period, aren't we? The NFL playoffs. It's not that long until the Super Bowl in New Orleans. Let's get I'm going to say it's early, but it's not actually that early because we know who's going to be in the playoffs. Your Super Bowl pick, please, Peter.
The heart says let's have a Bills Lions. Let's have a first time winner.
That's what I've been saying. I've been saying that for weeks because no matter what, then the Super Bowl is going to be good. You know that the atmosphere is going to be incredible. The heart says that. What does the head say, Peter?
The head says that the Kansas City Chiefs will somehow be there again. The Bills will somehow be cursed again in the playoffs, and that the Philadelphia will be a repeat of 3 years ago, and the Eagles and the Chiefs.
Okay, the Ravens is nowhere near.
No, they've got a 9-3 record against winning teams. I can't rule out the Ravens. You're right, but all right. No, I'll throw the Ravens in there.
Okay, all right.
I'd love to see Lamar win, but that's the same for Josh Allen as well.
Key,
I don't care. I think the Jags have still got a chance. No.
My goodness.
Do you know what? I was saying from halfway through the season, I would love to see when you start to think the Jag season isn't looking great, you start to think about, okay, well, who do I get to root for in the playoffs if it's not going to be the Jags? And to be honest, I like the Lions. I like that whole story. I like the rebuild. I like what they've been doing this season. That feels nice to me. I like the Lions for it.
Yeah, I think that the Lions are a very much a neutral pick.
A blue-collar story.
Yeah, I think that the story's good. And I think that Dan Campbell's quite a likable guy as a head coach, isn't he?
And I'm going to go gets his ring and then comes to Jacksonville.
Yeah,
and
so actually...
and then he wins a second ring 2 years in a row.
There you go. I like it.
I like you, Peter. You could come back on. Peter, thank you so much for joining us. And for the record, I'm going Bills Lions Super Bowl as well. The heart is stronger than the head.
Love it.
Cheers, Peter.
Thank you.
Just to say, the opinions of Peter Carline from The Athletic are not associated with the Jaguars organization in any way.
Oh, I'm not surprised. It's like there's an asterisk. There's an asterisk.
Independent thinking is allowed.
Yeah, of course it is. It'd be concerning if it wasn't. Thanks to Peter for coming on. I mean, yeah, end of season as well.
Yeah, that was a good chat. It was nice to have some outside thoughts as well.
Yeah, I think so, especially when it comes to over the next few weeks. Actually, it could be even over the next month or so, depending on what happens. With the head coaching search, what the Jags should be looking for, and all of that. So it's good to get somebody else on it. Speaking of the end of the season, Key, it is also the end of the season for for our NFL show, our Jaguars NFL show over on Sky Sports NFL. Which means I'm assuming it's a big one. And if it's not, do your job better, Key. Sorry.
Thanks, mate.
What's
Great
going
segue.
on in it? Yeah.
This week, it is a big one, obviously. End of the season, and also big news coming out of Jacksonville on Monday. So there's a lot of discussion about the future. JP and Tony are giving some very interesting opinions, definitely worth tuning in for. And Mic'd Up, as always, is a really, really good one for the end of the season. And that is on Sky Sports NFL Wednesday at 9 p.m, repeated throughout the week. And then all of the bits broken down onto the Jaguars UK YouTube channel.
Can I say, I know it's been a really big week for the Jacksonville Jaguars, like a really important week, like a lot of,
it's good that you know
stuff.
That, Jay.
Is it? Yeah, I know, I try.
Yeah.
I've got to say, the one thing that I'm sure that 99% of the listeners of this podcast have been waiting for is to find out the final standings. The final standings on our prediction table.
You've waited till the end of the episode to keep people listening, to keep them hanging on. It's the main news that people are after, isn't it?
They were listening to the stuff about Doug Peterson thinking, all right, come on, get to it.
Yeah.
We have predicted...
What are the standings?
We've predicted scoreline every single week here on Teal Talk, and the winner of the standings gets to steal a bit of Jaguars merchandise from the other person. Now, about half a season through, it looked like I was going to win it, but in the end, I did still win it. I did still win it. The final standings: Key with 4. How many wins did the Jags get this year?
4.
Okay, we can see what happened there.
Yeah.
The special guest or the fan every single week, they got 5 and I got 7, which means that I get to pick a bit of Jags merchandise.
A treacherous victory, Jay, if ever there was one.
It is a little bit, isn't it? On a few of them I felt guilty. Let's go through what you've got, because you can watch this on YouTube, by the way. If you're not watching this on YouTube, you can watch it on YouTube and you can see Key's background right now, which is chock-a-block full of Jags merchandise. So behind you, can you just talk us through a few of them?
Yeah, so on this side here is my favourite, which is a bespoke cyberpunk.
Why would you tell me that was your favourite? I get to steal something. This one is worth a lot of money.
I think you're a nice guy and you'll make the right decision, Jay.
Yes,
that's
all
why.
Right. Go on, carry on.
Also, something that would fit in the post. It might look like the size of a postage stamp, but it isn't.
So that's bespoke what?
That's bespoke artwork. It is Trevor Lawrence with the Stadium of the Future, but in a cyberpunk style, because I like 80s stuff.
What else we got? We got something else in the background.
Over this side, you've got a triptych, which is 3 individual bespoke artworks of Trevor Lawrence, Tony Baselli, and Josh Hines Allen. Then over here, you've got my bespoke cushion. It's all bespoke, nice stuff, Jay. Don't take it off me. And then here, you've got my little Trevor Lawrence figurine. With that's my favourite. That's actually my favourite.
Let's have a look at the figurine. Let's have a look. Can you put it to the camera?
Do you know what?
Talk us through. It's Trevor Lawrence.
It is mine.
Glorious hair.
But it's actually my daughter's.
Why would you tell me that?
No, she would be delighted for you to have that, Jay. It's
now I feel guilty if it's your daughter's, and I'm gonna take something that belongs to your daughter.
No, she said she said to me, "Why don't you give that one to Jay? Jay would like that one." And his name is Julia. She's renamed him Julia.
Key, are you so scared of losing all your bespoke stuff that you are actually trying to throw the big dog under the bus?
If you're asking me to choose between my bespoke artwork and my daughter, Jay, then yeah.
All right, I'm going to have the figurine. And if that makes me an awful person, I'm an awful person.
Jay, it's easier to post. Let's say that's the reason.
But do you know what? Do you know what we can do? Is we can make that trophy. It is now the trophy, and we're going to have that every single year. So,
I love that.
If you wanna try and get into your daughter's good books again, you need to be better at predicting, so you can win that back next season.
And little Trevor / Julia might make his way around the country. If a fan wins, then gets posted.
Perfect.
Dude,
yeah, exactly.
So that's
exactly.
Really fun.
All right. So we're calling him Little Trevor.
No, I think we should call him Julia.
All right. Julia is on the way to me, and I'm going to have him or her or whatever. Pride of place in my background.
You were right not to assume gender, but
there we go.
Yes.
I feel kind of proud of myself winning that standings. Do you feel proud of me, Key?
No, I think, as I've said before, it's a treacherous victory. You should be ashamed of yourself, and you should feel that every time you look at Julia.
All right, cheers, mate. Appreciate that.
No, you did very well, Jay. Well done.
Key, that is it.
Oh.
That is it.
But we're not
the
done.
End of the season. No, we're not done.
It's the end of the season, but it's not the end of us.
Not the end of us, which is always good to know. We're going to be back in a few weeks' time, aren't we? At the end of the month, where we
sure are.
We might have news. We might have big news. to do with the new head coach of the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Yeah. It's yeah.
We'll find out. We're excited. It's going to be a big off-season for the Jacksonville Jaguars, and we're going to be along for the ride, aren't we, Kee?
We certainly are. Jay.
Yeah.
You said your Super Bowl, to go back on it, you said who you was going to be in the Super Bowl.
Mm-hmm.
Who are you rooting for to take it?
I have no preference, Kee. Jacksonville Jaguars, I root for them to be in the Super Bowl. We'll end the podcast that way.
Ever the broadcaster.
All right, Teal Talk in partnership with Gallagher has been a shooting sharp production for Jacksonville Jaguars, UK and Ireland. Go subscribe on your podcast. Go subscribe on your audio. We'll be back in a few weeks' time.